I'm Gary Butterfield.
And I'm Gwen Static.
And this is Days of Future This is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where we talk about all things X-Men. And as you heard, we are joined by a special guest this morning, our good friend Gwen. How are you today, Gwen?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I reread this comic and it is insane.
You know, Gary and I have a kind of a long thing about just not really having guests on this podcast because it makes it easier. And you have proven that that is a very good idea by bringing these horrible issues to our door. So.
I kind of like this comic. Let's fight about it.
Yeah, I don't want to jump ahead. Many
Yeah.
thoughts. So do we want to do any more introductions about anything other than we're all doing good? And this comic is weird.
Yeah, so we're going to cover Wolverine Old Man Logan, which is in the 2003 Wolverine series. Starts at issue number 66. We're going to do 2 episodes on this, so look forward to that, audience. And Gary, what's your background with it? Or actually, Gwen, since you brought this to us, since you wanted to do this.
It's worth noting, Gwen expressed some interest in being on the show, and I was like, that's a great idea. What would you like to do, Gwen? And Gwen brought this up. So I'm not saying that unlike Jeremy, I'm not saying that to deflect blame. Because again, I kind of like this comic, but also though to channel Jeremy, Gwen, explain yourself.
Explain yourself, please.
I don't think this comic actually needs that much defending, especially if you were a comic book reader in the mid 2000s. And I'm not saying like this is like Mark Millar's greatest achievement in writing, but at the
unfunny
time,
erasure,
it did
and I won't
feel
stand
refreshing.
Yeah.
Like this is ostensibly where the movie Logan came from, and y'all like that one, right? That's a pretty good one.
I mean, yeah, there's also flowers come from shit, but like, you know.
yeah, exactly.
The homespun Cajun trouncing this is going to get is great.
Oh, Jeremy, I'm loving this already. Point is, there was a time when superhero comics felt so stale that even something like Old Man Logan felt like it was actually pushing against some kind of grain. That time is no longer now. It felt more transgressive in the mid-2000s, I feel. But there are some really fun, stupid ideas, and Gary said it really well when we were just kind of DMing about it a few minutes ago. This is the kind of shit that a writer like Rick Remender or Jason Aaron or like a lot of or Kieran Gillen, like they could have taken a lot of these ideas and really run with them. Mark Millar is not that good of a writer. No. So he's an idea factory, and I wouldn't even say this is particularly dense with ideas either. But the ideas that are there, some of them are very fun.
Like there's a connection, I think, between some of the things in this and stuff you will see in Rick Remender, specifically his weird future stuff, and where he like crosses characters. Like you get the green octopus, or the demon octopus or whatever, the weird cadre of people they fought in the future under Wolverine's Age of Apocalypse thing. Like that kind of mashing up of Marvel history shit was, at the time this came out, kind of new and neat. At the time, and there's I'm a little bit of a sucker for that stuff.
Yeah.
So that part of it kind of worked for me. And then also, and this is going to sound like a cop out, but it's just true. In my mid-20s, when I was reading comics, I did not. There were multiple flavors of kind of bad comics at the time, and this kind that moved really quick and was kind of stupid and fun was more fun than whatever Ed Brubaker was doing in Shi'ar space at the time.
I can see
which
that.
was unreadable.
That's what was going on during Uncanny at that point.
Yeah.
It was Brubaker and Fraction.
Yeah, unreadable. The rise and fall of the Shi'ar Empire, like one of the most boring comics I've ever read. And I like Ed Brubaker a lot of the time, but nothing was silly at all in X-Men or in Marvel Comics at the time. It felt like. And this kind of big stupidity was super refreshing. Upon reading it now, it's pretty rough. There's a lot of dialogue stuff. I was also talking to you, Gwen, in the green room about how 90% of this comic is people going, "What do you mean you're not going to be Wolverine anymore? Pop your claws, dude." And him being like, "I don't do that anymore." And then like 2 panels later, they say the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening with the dialogue in this. Like Hawkeye's constantly calling people dude. You know,
I'm gonna.
yeah, it's weird.
The one slight defense I will give to the whole Wolverine being like, I swear I'm Logan now, is that Wolverine has actually a ridiculously long history of being very weird about a name.
That's true.
Like patches and stuff. Like, I'm not saying that really justifies it, but it does at least make it a little more palatable.
It's not bad that he does it. It's just, it's bad that it's weird. It's weird that he's constantly saying it over and over. And
Over
people
and
are
over
constantly like, really, dude? And he's like, yeah, really.
I just wanted to take a drink every time I read "pop your claws" or "pop his claws," or I mean these are just popping claws like they're pills, man. Like it is absolutely hilarious. And almost every intro, like in the little previously on section of the comic, and to catch you up, they're talking about popping claws in there, and it's just hilarious. It's like somebody came up with it was like somebody thought they invented popping claws for the first time.
Use a new term.
We've got it from here.
It sounds like a discredited member of Eminem's D12 named Papa Claus or whatever. Who comes in to do the 10th verse on pink and purple pills or whatever. Yeah.
There's definitely been a comic where Wolverine dresses up like Santa Claus, and it's called Santa Claus, right?
I hope
they've done that. They surely have done that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The other thing I'm going to say in defense of this as a general thing, even though there are individual moments I like as well throughout it, is the art is really pretty impeccable to me. I love Steve McNiven. This is the guy who did Civil War was his big breakthrough thing that I saw him do. I really like this artist. I think he's great. I think it looks good to me.
I think the art is pretty much universally good in this. And it's like to give this comic, or to give this like little run some credit. There are some fun ideas in here, like Venom the dinosaur is very hilarious to me. Just it's full stop. Like that is a
Venom
good
dinosaur is my favorite.
But the problem is it's only for like 3 pages, and I wanted way
Venom
more
dinosaur
Venom
goes
dinosaur. We need justice for Venom dinosaur.
This is going to sound like something a little kid says, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's true. I came up with the idea of a Venom dinosaur before I read this comic. And I know that's like a little kid thing. Like I came up with the Venom dinosaur, but I was joking with my comic friend, my assistant, when I worked, I was going to get comics every Wednesday in DeKalb, Illinois. And we were just talking about the symbiote and like what it could get into. And I was like, what if the Venom went to the Savage Land? Like how rad would that be? And then this comic came along that basically made the Savage Land come to Venom. You know, I felt justified. I was like, yeah, finally. Somebody else thought this was a cool idea. It's Mark Millar. You know, it's Mark Miller thinks it's a cool idea. The guy behind the Unfunnies, but you know, still, I'll take it.
Sure, yeah.
Oh my God, you've read the Unfunnies? That's the worst comic I've ever read in my life.
It's excruciating.
It's horrible. Guys, just don't even Google it. It's just Mark Miller doing the worst possible shit he can think of. It's worse than Wanted, the comic.
It's like the Feebles or the Happy Time Murders or something, but like 1,000 times worse. The ironicness of little cartoon funny guys coming and giving each other blowjobs and stuff. You know? Which now in 2023 is not even funny. That's just most Patreons.
That's just how it goes.
But
it's just that's just the water now.
It just became a thing.
90% of Etsy, but at the time it was, you know, pretty unusual.
Yeah, you're not going to believe what CW has been doing with the Unfunnies. They have a whole adaptation coming, so it's going to be super.
It's part of the Unfunnyverse.
The skeeviest thing I've ever heard.
I'm
just
curious.
Imagining that being animated.
Were both of you guys? Were both of y'all reading comics? Like, were y'all keeping up with this as it was coming out? Because I didn't. I took a pretty lengthy break from comics between my teenage years, and then after Autumn and I got married, we were like, oh, let's go to the local comic book shop. And then we kind of started doing that in like 2005 or 2006. But then that was all like, I was too cool for Marvel for a little while. Like I was like, oh, I got to read, you know, whatever Vertigo is putting out. So I missed all of this stuff. And if you would ask me, I would have sworn up and down that I read Old Man Logan. But I had not till this morning. So
I had my break, but this was after my break.
Okay.
This is when I had come back to comics. So
I've been in and out of love with comics. I've always been in love with comics, but like actually reading superhero stuff my whole life. So this would have been 2008. So I was in the middle of a love affair with comics at that point. Because I would have just read Civil War about then. So yeah, I would have been okay. I remember now. Old Man Logan technically debuted in a Fantastic Four issue, which was Mark Millar's
Yes.
run as well. And I was buying that issue by issue because it was Millar and Hitch, who at the time, that was like an unstoppable team because they had
Yeah,
just
because the
written 2
Ultimates,
runs of the Ultimates. Yeah.
which I maintain are pretty good. I think that's probably Mark Millar's best stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Or it's near the top for him for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm a weird Fantastic Four defender. I think Millar's run on Fantastic Four is like really good. There's a lot of really fun ideas in there. But it's not as he actually tends to work best when he's forced to be in continuity because then he doesn't just kill everybody and say ha 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 blood.
Yeah. He's kind of a shitty edgelord. Like, we haven't done a Mark Millar comic on this, and for people who don't know his steez, it's kind of like a less talented Garth Ennis a little bit. He's similarly cynical about superheroes. Like, he thinks they're stupid and likes it when bad things happen to them, but he's not as good a writer. So like some of the ideas are really big and cool, but the actual execution ends up being, skeevy and misguided a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. There's an element of like sleaze to this whole thing, I think. That is just and maybe for the time period, Gwen, like you said earlier, like this was a little bit transgressive and like felt like it was going against the grain. Reading it in 2023, it was just like, wow, we've seen a lot of these same ideas done way better at this point. Again, I'm not gonna dog on this thing the whole time. I think there's fun to be had throughout this comic book. But yeah, it is weird reading this in 2023. It is very bizarre.
In the grand scheme of things, you are right. You are the most correct, Jeremy. Just because Gary and I like it a little more says more about us, I think, than your taste in comic books.
You're not wrong whatsoever. It's just you can't divorce something from your first blush. I will say in rereading this, it goes down supernaturally smooth.
It does that. I was
fast.
like really surprised how quick I got through it. Like, and maybe this is just us coming off of Chris Claremont, Gary, but like it was just like it was just zipping through, and I was like, I opened up the giant size issue, and it was like 38 pages, and I was like, oh god, I'm gonna be here for an hour, and then like six minutes later, I was done. Like, fucking A. Okay, good. Let's fucking podcast about this. I'm ready to go.
Well, let's get into it.
Sure.
Star issues. We'll cover the first 4 of them this time. This cover, which I've been staring at this whole time, is rife with detail. Emo Hulk gets such top billing in this. One of the Hulk gang, one of Hulk's shitty kids, who's got the horrible haircut, and then the Lady Hulk here, who is shoving a baby to breastfeed through her shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or smothering the baby.
Either one.
Like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's nesting this baby with her tit. I don't know what's going on with that baby.
I am fascinated by Scene Hulk with this little MCR Hulk that we've got going on here. This dude is just incredible. All of the Hulk gang, as they are described, which are just literal inbred Hulk spawn, is extremely funny to me. Like I don't know what happened to Bruce Banner to make him do this, but. And I don't know, like at the end, we had to get this reveal that he bred Jennifer, he bred She-Hulk so that he could have kids or whatever. And it's treated as kind of a reveal. And I was like, I figured that's what you did. For the moment I saw these children, like my mind immediately went there.
It's definitely a thought that is pretty obvious to see. Like actually seeing it written down though is just like that's Miller being just a shit. Like, that's not an idea. Like, it literally just could have been Bruce Banner had 10 million kids and they were all Hulks. Like, it could have just been that.
It could have been with human women. It didn't have to have incest. But he's an edgelord.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a dark future. We're in ruins territory. Everything has gone bad.
This cover is iconic, we should point out. Like, this is one of the most iconic covers of this era of Marvel. Like,
the back of it.
It's just a movie poster, basically.
Yeah, when you do the full thing where you get the back cover with the Venom dinosaur and the Captain America with the bullet hole through the skeleton that they put the uniform back on, looks like it is pretty good.
Yeah, I like the cover a whole lot, and we kicked this off with seeing Wolverine 50 years ago, basically crawling out of some sort of ditch, bloodied, beaten, obviously not going well. And our narration is basically just like, we don't know what the fuck happened to Wolverine, but he hasn't popped his claws in 50 years. And I'm just like, as soon as I saw popped his claws, I'm like, okay,
You get one. Like that is an acceptable
It's fine.
term, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
fact that
absolutely.
it's the only one they use is very funny. Then we get this illustration of him on horseback. This is post-apocalyptic Marvel. In the Marvel comics, this is called the Wastelands, this future. There are other comics that take place in this continuity, but this is Earth, some string of numbers, the Wastelands. And we get this beautiful illustration of Logan on horseback coming back to his little farm shack.
Yeah, where
that he's at.
Presumably just farms dirt. Like, this looks like a dirt farm if I've ever seen one.
He is in the middle of nothing, and there are no crops. He's flashing back to that scene 50 years ago, and he's kind of kneeling in front of a train there. And we will find out what the true story is with that later. And we see one of his kids come out, and he's talking to his family, and basically the thrust of this is that they don't have enough money for Hulk rent.
Yes.
They're trying to make Hulk rent.
They owe Hulk dues.
Yes.
Very similar to normal rent, but it's due way more often.
Yeah, it's way bigger. You wouldn't like this rent when it gets due.
Oh God. I'm just gonna skip ahead because Gary, you called it to mind. When he finally fights the Hulk at the end, the Hulk says, "People piss themselves when I get angry."
Yeah.
Mark Miller really
Yeah,
wants to do that
man.
with every iconic superhero line.
Awful.
That's his
awful.
favorite thing.
Yeah, it's pissing time, he has the thing say. And the thing whips out his orange hog and takes a leak.
Yeah.
The one thing I like is this is in the future, and the daughter is still playing with a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah,
Game Boy Advance SP.
And they're talking about an Xbox.
And they were trying to sell the Xbox. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that they have modern to us and at the time Nintendos and stuff, and that's them having shitty outdated technology in the future. Like, this is basically them having Ataris and stuff.
Yeah.
Now.
It's a trope I'm fond of. Just like, here's the breaking point that this becomes like a shit future right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right at the Game Boy SP.
Direct
in a world
link.
without Vitas.
Oh no. But Vita means life, Gary.
Yeah. Well, hey, it makes you think. Wolverine will not sell his children's toys to make rent, which ultimately would have saved his family. So this is a whole story about how you should sell your Game Boy.
Yeah, and this seems like a weird line, especially because the kids are like, we don't really have time to play because you work is so hard. Like, it's just one of those. I want the kids to have toys, but I do not want them to have time to play with them. Is a very weird line to draw in your dirt farm sand. And we learned that like the daughter has heard rumors that Logan used to be a big famous superhero. But Wolverine is like, you need to shut the fuck up, little girl. You don't get to talk to me that way.
Go back to your Game Boy Advance SP. Go back to Golden Sun, you little shit.
Why don't you grind some more? What JRPG are you playing now, you little weirdo?
Go back to Dawn of Souls.
They named the kids Scotty and Jade. That feels like, why would they go so close and not just do Scott and Jean?
And also Jade means green. And that's Hulk.
It doesn't click, doesn't track.
Yeah,
I just figured
it's a bad choice.
I figured they just divided up the kids, and we just don't know anything about. I don't even remember this woman's name. Is how much we learn about this woman.
I don't think she gets a name, dude. I think she might just be wife.
Maureen.
Okay, there we go.
Towards the end, they're like, "Don't you miss Maureen?" It's like the thing at the very, very end. But yeah, I figured Maureen got a name, so she was like Jade, and Logan was like, "Let me think of something that makes me sad every time I look at my child." Scotty.
What we don't see are the 20 kids off screen that are named like Sink, Skin, Jubilee, Colossus, Danger Room.
I mean, look,
Indoor Plumbing.
I'm just
like
assuming
all these children.
No,
I'm just assuming this is Little House on the Prairie rules, and like they just had a lot of dead kids. Like, these are the only surviving children. Like, he's probably like they probably had 10 children, and only 2 made it through. So
his
I'm actually not
seed
sure we
bad.
got any evidence that those are actually Wolverine's kids or anything.
Oh, that's true too. They might not have come out of his balls. They might have been adopted kids.
And like him adopting kids is very well within character. So
that is Wolverine's thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're talking about rent being due. And they're saying, maybe they'll let us, they're like, oh, they killed this other family because they were 3 months behind. Maybe they'll give us an extra month. And Wolverine's doubtful. They're not reasonable. These are Bruce Banner's kids. The next day, a couple days, they're coming. The boy is on the porch with a gun, getting ready. And Wolverine's like, put away the gun. This isn't how this is going to go. And the Hulk gang show up in a defaced Fantasticar that they've destroyed. We get our 3 Hulks. We get big beer drinking trucker redneck Hulk, scene emo Hulk, and then like rednecks breedmare Hulk.
Yeah, constantly nursing Hulk. That's what we call nursing Hulk is what we're going to call her for the rest of the issue.
Yeah, Nurse Hulk.
I do love the way that they've, because this is a Fantastic Four card. It's got the number 4 on everything, and they've just they just appropriated it. So like one says dead and forgotten, and one says unforgiven. Like it's real, real edgelordy and terrible. But I kind of dig it.
Well, like when we talk about things that a better writer would grab in the future, somebody finding an old Fantasticar and repurposing it is the kind of thing that I kind of like.
Yeah,
that is on evidence here.
With the kid and the Ant-Man helmet, like I like that scene in the same kind of sense. Like, he just found
like, a shitty kid finds an Ant-Man helmet, and like that's great. That's a really cool idea. It's like Jeremy said earlier with the Venom dinosaur. We only spent 3 panels on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're all taunting him about how he doesn't like being called Wolverine anymore. How he used to be tough shit. There. And, they brought the boys because he might cause trouble. And they say, hey, are you going to cause trouble? Or are we just going to take your beating? We're going to flatten your shitty farm. You're going to take your beating. And he fantasizes briefly about doing something with his claws. I don't know the word for it.
Oh, if only the English vocabulary held such wonders.
If only there's some kind of reminder of what he does with his claws.
They should have said a poet. I just can't.
Yeah. The poet gang. But he popping his claws and cutting big redneck trucker Hulk in half. But this is just a fantasy. In real life, he says, yes, sir, I'm ready to take my beating. And they beat the crap out of Wolverine.
Yeah. And the kid tries to protect him. The kid brings out the shotgun, and they're just like, yeah, right, dude. Like, you're lucky that we're, you're lucky that we're in a good mood, because otherwise we would have just murdered you. And
when we talk about, real quick before we move on, when we talk about crappy Mark Miller writing, the emo characters oftentimes don't have a separate voice when he's writing them. And the shitty emo Hulk says, come on, punk. Used to be the most dangerous man alive. We're just a bunch of hillbillies. Like, we know this. That didn't need to be said. Like, I don't know. It's just characters just stating things that you can see by reading the comic is a big Mark Miller thing.
We'll talk about it a lot throughout these next 7 or 8 issues. The dialogue is pretty atrocious throughout. So
yes, some of it is really, really bad. The kid pulls out the gun, like you said, and they say, fine, double next month, or everybody dies, and they take off. There.
Yep. And then we cut to inside, where an old friend has come to visit. This is Blind Hawkeye, who is, I guess, ostensibly trying to comfort Wolverine, but is actually here just to ask him to do a job for him. And basically says like, hey, like, it's is this illegal? I think Wolverine's like, is this illegal? Which is a hilarious question from Wolverine. I don't think he's ever asked.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what laws are happening? Like, who are there Doom laws? Like, or what are we worried about?
Hulk laws. And Wolverine doesn't care about things being legal. He ran multiple X-Forces.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
What is legal? What is legal in this world? Your land is owned by the Hulk gang.
Yeah, you farm dirt with an indeterminate number of dead kids in the backyard. Like, it's the idea is what Mark Miller is doing is he's confusing him being a man of peace with him being like a lawful good paladin. He doesn't have the strength as a writer to have a character land somewhere between those two things. So he makes him upset about it being drugs or about it being a legal run, where the real Wolverine, even if he had decided not to be violent, wouldn't care about that. That's like a shade of distinction that Mark Miller, I think, is kind of incapable of.
Yeah.
I mean, we might as well God, I mean, within all of this, you're slowly getting flashbacks to the night the bad guys won, which is the lamest justification
yeah.
I've ever heard for
But
a
don't
the end scenario in the Marvel universe. Just
don't
like,
give it away too much. We have a whole issue about that we got to talk about.
not too much,
So
but just
we'll get
like,
to
I'm
it.
pretty sure it's
Yeah.
pretty quick. They start calling it the night the bad guys won, and that's
Yeah.
what bothers me more than anything. Not what actually happened, just the fact that literally their entire motivation was, we never thought to team up.
Yeah. I have a lot of problems with the night the bad guys won.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is a thing. But every time it pushes me away, it pulls me back. On this next morning when he agrees to do the job, look how short they draw Wolverine.
Yes. Yes.
I love it. That's how tall he
This
is.
is one of the big things that I have as a grown man. I'm like, how short is your Wolverine? Like, it's a test of quality to anything now.
Yeah. Henry Winkler or
Canonically,
smaller. Like,
I will accept a Wolverine up to 5 foot.
Yeah, but no higher,
No higher,
no taller.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, this Wolverine who is
short
shorter
king.
than his wife. It is great. Yeah, he used to be a short king. Now he doesn't go by that name. He'll never go by that name.
I'm a short popper now.
Yeah, he's a short papa, not a popper. Yeah,
I gotta talk about Hawkeye just real quick, because the one thing when he first shows up, my immediate reaction is, I don't think Hawkeye and Wolverine are friends. Like, I'm sure they've encountered each other. They were probably on the Avengers at the same time, but there's no meaningful
They've never shared
relationship
dialogue.
between Hawkeye and Wolverine.
Nope, not even a little bit. And again, that's a weird Mark Miller thing. Like, he wanted to make Hawkeye be blind and still be a badass archer.
Which also, you have Daredevil. But
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, this could have been. Well, and Daredevil also doesn't have a connection to Wolverine. This could have been anybody. Wolverine has friends. It couldn't have been an X-Man for reasons we'll talk about. But there are Avengers he got along with better than Hawkeye. I don't think I've ever seen these characters share dialogue.
Yeah, the one justification that the comic gives, I will give him some credit for this. I thought it was clever. Hawkeye's a low enough tier Avenger that he was just forgotten about.
Yeah,
I kind of like
that. Works for me too. Also, kind of works for me.
Could have been Black Knight.
Black could have been anybody. We see Black Knight's sword later. They're getting ready to make this drive. And another little bit I like is Hawkeye found a spider buggy.
This is hilarious to me. I love this. This is one of the best things about this comic book, is that it's a road trip for two buddies in the spider buggy. Like, this is, I don't know. I'm pretty comfortable in my life, but if things ever get shaken up, I'm like, Gary, you want to go take a 3,000-mile road trip across the country in a spider buggy, baby?
Yeah,
I'll do it for you. Like, we're good friends, so I would do it. If you ask me too seriously, I'd take a spider buggy trip.
Gary's like, I'll do 300. I'm not doing 3,000.
3,000's a lot. For people who don't know, the spider buggy is real. It's behind you right now. The spider buggy was a thing that Johnny Storm built for Spider-Man, and it's a car that climbs up walls. Why does Spider-Man need a car? Action figures, probably, is my guess. So they can sell Hot Wheels of them. But it was a weird thing that happened in the 80s, 70s or 80s. I can't remember exactly. Gwen, do you remember? I think that's
a Gary
Spider-Man
Conway, so yeah, 70s.
Yeah. It's real. It got brought back in the mid 2000s by Dan Slott a couple times in some pretty fun comics, but it's a lot like Thanos' helicopter, like in just weird, funny, shitty 70s Marvel things.
Yeah. Did that really happen? Did Thanos have a helicopter?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Search Thanos helicopter. He's got the Thanos copter. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's real good. It's like when you go to the store and you see a Hot Wheel that the Flash is driving, and you're like, oh, come on. Like, why does that go? Why is he driving? That's silly. Yeah.
I think this is hilarious.
So they get going.
Hawkeye is like, I am going to be the one to drive, even though I'm blind. You're just here to be the navigator. Like, you just need to pull up the sat nav and tell me where we're going. And this is what we're, I think, first presented with what's happened to this country, where all of the villains have divided up the territory into 6 or 7 distinct territories. So we've got Hulkland, the Kingdom of the Kingpin, just an open area in the Midwest, which I think is very funny. Like, nobody even in this apocalyptic world, they're like, fuck Kansas. Yeah. No, thank you.
It does have the Cree Haven and the negative zone opening in
which
it.
is probably why nobody.
The negative zone was my favorite joke on that.
Yeah, they get his own opening, and Paste Pot Creek, which we'll get to visit.
Yep. Doom has a whole section. He kind of got the Louisiana Purchase of America. He's like just bought that back. And then the President's Quarter, which is the East Coast. And then so we're gonna make the whole drive across America, and that's where this first issue ends, with them just getting ready for the ride of your life. Every issue of this entire run ends with like what I think they really thought would like, oh, I gotta have the next one. Like they really wanted to give you that, like, oh, look, what's going to happen next? And every time I'm just like, I don't fucking care, dude. Let's just go.
It also it's worth noting that is the quickest we've ever gone. Like we had a lot of preamble.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fastest we've ever gone over the content of a comic.
That's true.
And that's going to continue because these are some slight ass comics.
They really are. Yeah.
In a good way. Like again, they go quick. Next issue 67. This is where the heroes fell. Logan and Hawkeye at the massacre of the superheroes. And we show them over a big pit of skeletons dressed up in superhero costumes.
I like the idea of bodies decomposing, but uniforms not decomposing. Like I think that just in
PIM particles. And
yeah,
shit.
exactly. Like whether it's
unstable molecules.
Yeah, unstable molecules, whatever it is. I just really like the idea that they were just left there and like you can just go see the suits. Like it's very funny. It'd
be amazing. Like nobody's gonna steal Spider-Man's little webby underarms,
exactly,
or just steal the thing's body. So it shows the map again, and then we cut over to them just driving through like Burning Man.
That's what this looks like.
Yeah, there are people about, and they're just driving right through them here, not keeping a low profile because Hawkeye is driving, and it kind of stresses enough he is blind.
Yeah.
And this is where they start going back and forth, being like, "Man, I can't believe, these people aren't going to mess with us. We got the Wolverine. I'm not that guy anymore. Yeah, you say that. They think you are, but I think you are. Still can't believe it. You're not that guy anymore. I'm not that guy anymore." They start going back and forth saying that a lot at this point, and kind of do it for the next 3 issues.
Yep. They spend a lot of time. Wolverine spends a lot of time saying that he's not Wolverine anymore. Just a whole lot.
Yeah.
So. Hawkeye drives the buggy off of a cliff, which is no big deal because it's a spider buggy and it could just land. And that's like 4 pages. So we could just zip right through this comic book like there was no problem.
Yeah, nothing happened. They're in San Francisco, driving around at night, and they're like, "Oh, something's wrong." And then they see moloids come out. This is real weird because Hawkeye says the moloids are the Earth's immune system. They popped up when we hit 8 billion people, and they eat people in Europe and stuff. But they, they've made their way over here. The moloids have always been here. These are the mole man's little bubbies.
I feel like Mark Millar has just like read just a little bit of Warren Ellis, just like one issue of Planetary or Global Frequency or something. Was like, this is a good idea. I need to do this. Like
the Earth's immune system, the moloids being the Earth's immune system, is big diet Warren Ellis,
right?
Yeah.
I like moloids just fine, and then later the moloids are going to fuck everybody up. I like the idea that they're literally sinking buildings. So they're walking around with all these skyscrapers that are barely sticking out of the ground. Like, I think that's a cool image.
Yeah.
So they're looking around for survivors from this thing and going back and forth being, "Oh yeah, I forgot. You're just a simple farmer just for rent money, right? You're not Wolverine." And he's like, "My name's Logan. God damn it.
I told you I'm not going to crackle my claws."
When they get attacked by the Ghost Riders.
I think
the Ghost Riders are
this is the dumbest thing.
They're bad. They're very
so
bad and dumb.
I just I don't remember a lot of my Ghost Rider lore, but I'm pretty sure that there was I know that there's multiple Ghost Riders, but I don't think that the Ghost Rider demon would be like, "Yeah, you 4 assholes, you all get super Ghost Rider powers now." And I don't care. It doesn't.
There are way more of them than this. It's a huge gang. Yeah, the Ghost Riders are not these 4 dudes. When I started kind of poking at some of the other Wasteland universe stuff after this, just to see what, because I didn't know there were more comics set in this universe, and they also fight Ghost Riders there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and the Ghost Riders are human gang members, but they have Ghost Rider motorcycles.
Yeah, what a bad pick, because Ghost Rider is such a specific, he has specific purpose. Every Ghost Rider is the same purpose.
Yeah.
So, creating a gang of them is a real misunderstanding of what a Ghost Rider even is. He basically just saw motorcycles, fire wheels, gang.
Yeah. It would make sense in the future for a gang to pattern themselves after the Ghost Rider, because it's cool looking. but they shouldn't have Ghost Rider motorcycles.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have the technology to have a wheel be on fire perpetually and then still function as a wheel.
Although, if
You know?
if y'all are playing Tears of
Yeah.
the Kingdom, y'all could probably build a Ghost Rider motorcycle pretty easily. Just saying.
Ooh. Can I build a
They're
spider
beating
buggy?
the crap. I bet you can.
They
It's
build-
mostly
I don't know.
spider
Have y'all
buggies, I think.
seen any of the stuff they're doing in Tears? That's about to take us way off topic. But
Oh,
like
yeah.
all of the mechs and the crazy machines and the goblin killing machines that they're making. I saw one dude who just made a boat, like a fishing boat that just has electric stuff in the water, and he's just harvesting fish in an ocean. Like it is extremely great, and I love every second of it.
The Ghost Riders are beating the crap out of Wolverine, being like, "Fight back! What's the matter with you? Why don't you fight back? Are you not Wolverine anymore?" And he goes, "No, I'm Logan. I'll never hurt another living soul." And just gets the crap beat out of him until eventually Hawkeye saves him, killing a bunch of guys. And Wolverine goes, "Hawkeye, what have you done?" That doesn't sound like Wolverine either to me.
Yeah, you talk about like anytime that this situation happens where there's like Wolverine has to decides not to engage in combat of some kind, he usually has some dialogue where it's like just completely not Wolverine's voice at all. Because like I can fully like I will buy into the idea that he's gone pacifist, right? Like he did something so horrible that he never wants to commit violence again. But he would watch this and be like, he wouldn't ask what have you done because he's seen it in front of him. He'd be like, Hawkeye, that was real fucked up. Let's get on the road and go. Like I don't know. Like he's not. I can't imagine a world where he would be surprised that people died. Right.
Yeah. Well, they were going to kill him and stop him from being able to save his family. Like keep your eyes on the prize. Like the weird thing that I find when I reread Mark Millar comics, and is like he has characters that can't keep more than one idea in their head at once. So like this version of Wolverine is a pacifist, but he also cares deeply about his family, and he's willing to kind of bend his rules to save his family. Like that's fine. That's a little bit generic. That's like 90% of Westerns, but like it's fine. But he can only be in one of those lanes at a time.
Yeah.
So here he's like, "Oh no, I'm a pacifist." And it's like, "Nah, this is what has to happen. These guys stopped you and they were beating the crap out of you, and you guys had to go deliver the thing. Remember the thing that happened last issue?" Come on,
the
man.
answer is no.
You know,
I remember that.
Yeah. Cool art at the very least. Also, Hawkeye starts calling people bitches, which is going to happen a lot in this book. It's very mid 2000s with that word.
Yeah. I do like the shot, this one panel where Hawkeye is like, "What did they do to you, man?" And Wolverine flashes back to just being surrounded by supervillains, and he's just murdering all of them. That's a cool. The art in this is so much better. And then it's immediately punctuated with "They broke me, bub," which is one of the dumbest things I've ever read in a comic book of all time. They broke me, bub.
Free reaction image for anybody,
Right?
This could probably be used like really, really well on
Like-
like Twitter and stuff.
Jeremy, that is definitely a panel that for me screams comic books are good.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know
I mean,
how you feel about it, but I love it.
There's
Bub,
the
I got
idea like
broken.
it's so dumb that it's good, right? Like I could see it from that angle definitely, and obviously it's making me
Yeah.
laugh, like it's making me chuckle. If you're reading this, like I don't think this was meant to be funny, right? Like I don't think Mark Millar.
No,
I think Mark
it
Millar
is-
wrote this and was like, I am getting to the deep emotional heart of Old Man Logan with they broke me, bud.
They broke
They
me,
broke me,
bub.
bub. I think Mark Miller was going for this is cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
More than it's like deep. So it's just perfunctory to get to the cool big ideas that he has. He just really is insecure about us understanding that Wolverine is broken and will not pop claws.
He can't.
Because this is now like in the space of 5 pages. The Hawkeye's like, "I'm pissed at you. You didn't do anything." And he's like, "I keep fucking telling you, dude. I don't do stuff. Like I'm not that Wolverine anymore. I'm the second Wolverine movie where he loses his powers." They continue driving. At this point, this is where Hawkeye reveals like, oh, they didn't bother with him.
Yes.
They ignored him because he didn't have enough powers. I like that touch too. And they're going to a place called it's Vegas, but now it's called Hammer Falls. Where Magneto, the Absorbing Man and Magneto, finished off the Great White Hope, and they're not, you can tell who that is, but they haven't named it just yet.
When I saw Hammer Falls, I was like, so we're gonna do some Justin Hammer stuff. Like it actually like the I don't know if it was meant to be or I was just being dumb or something. Like it just didn't occur to me what this was actually going to be. And we talked about this recently in the MCU catch up for the TV shows we did, where in the Miss Marvel series, they go to like Avengers Con or whatever. And we were asking the question like, how do these people know what happens in these movies? Like, who's telling them? Like, what is the way to get information? And I feel the same way now that I'm looking at this of like, they've got, Thor t-shirts for sale and things like that. Like this whole encampment is just very strange to me because what information were they provided? Like if all of this stuff happened, like if I'm a supervillain, I'm not going to, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I'm not leaving CNN up and running.
In the comics, it makes a little bit more sense because like the characters are closer to celebrities. The movies and TV show and stuff has this weird covert angle to a lot of this stuff. Like it ends up feeling like government shit. In the comics, like I believe that there would be Thor t-shirts. Like people would love Thor and stuff. And like in this scenario, I think it's that a lot of people came to watch. The superheroes did their big fight at the end, their last push, and died. And didn't make it. A lot of people were there for it. So, they have all these superhero worshippers and stuff who are all at this point, and then Wolverine sees what it is. It's the where Thor's hammer was dropped, and nobody can obviously pick that up because you have to be worthy. Nobody's worthy, and all these people are worshiping it. I think this is kind of a cool touch. I'm good with this.
I am too. Yeah, I just like the idea. I like anytime you have an out of context Thor's hammer, right? Like I'm into it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of Ultron 8? Who's this guy? Like,
but barely anything.
Skinny business Ultron. What was that, Gwen?
Cute joke, barely anything.
Yeah, he's just like house husband Ultron. Like Hawkeye's fucking ex-wife left him for Ultron 8. Who is a skinny like office Ultron. It's real weird.
It's very bizarre. I need to know what happened to make this Ultron so ineffectual, I guess is maybe the word. Like you just get like in a world of nerds, he seems to be the nerdiest one, I guess.
Give me something in a limp dick Ultron.
Yeah, exactly.
If you give it the most generous reading possible, right? So Ultron begat Vision. Vision is a more domestic Ultron. What if he just kept having children and each one was more domestic than the last?
The last.
And then you get Ultron 8.
More domestic than the last. I will bear you a tamed husband. This is just a weird coincidence. Ultron 8 had been calling for Hawkeye because this is where his ex-wife lives, who tuned up the spider buggy. They need help, so we have to do a side quest.
Yes.
Here.
We find out that Hawkeye's daughter has been kidnapped, is what I think they say. Like she has decided to go be a superhero with her friends. And then we meet Hawkeye's ex-wife, Tanya, which is hilarious because my dad just divorced a chick named Tanya, so I'm dying throughout this. But also Spider-Man's daughter, and the age thing here is so. And I know that I know it's comic books.
Yeah,
it's real fucking. Like as soon as I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, can you imagine Peter Parker's reaction to find out that Hawkeye is boating down on his daughter? Like, what did like?
Not like this.
Definitely not like this. Like, and hopefully he was dead. Like, hopefully he was rolling over in his grave when this was happening because I can't imagine.
Hawkeye was just waiting for Spider-Man to die to move in all his kids.
Right?
And Hawkeye is implied to have a lot of ex-wives. They're probably all his coworkers' kids. What a creep.
I'm just, oh God. Doesn't Tony Stark have a child? Like, I'm just,
yeah.
Anyway.
They reveal that this is the Spider-Man's granddaughter, Hawkeye's daughter. And then we cut to her in a jail cell and we get a picture of a sexy spider lady here. We're going to later find out this character's named Spider Bitch. No joke. So we go issue 3 here. Logan and Hawkeye meet the new kingpin of crime here.
And Hawkeye has a sword.
Yep. They're going to go rescue the daughter. Like Hawkeye's, he's feeling a little proud. He's got Spider-Man DNA, going to go help his daughter. Wolverine at first says, I'm not going to do that. I was hired to do a job. Again, can you only have one idea in his head, at a time? Now he's in family mode. And Hawkeye has to offer him double.
Yeah.
he says, I'm not going to fight. If you recall, they call me Logan now. It's not Wolverine, so I don't fight. I don't pop claws. And Hawkeye says, that's fine.
On the way out,
Ultron 8 gives him a little
yeah,
keychain.
Ultron 8 gives him a little keychain. And then there's this really horrible joke that Hawkeye says, was just like, come on, even Charles Xavier was faster on his feet than you are. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Hawkeye, you're such a dick.
Yeah.
Dick burned to Xavier.
Yep, burned to Xavier. Burned to... they're driving through Utah, and Hawkeye's talking about how he's proud that his daughter is being a superhero. They find a guy who is up on a church steeple. The Moloids came. Everything went under, and he just went to the highest point. And Wolverine's like, we have to save him. And Hawkeye's like, fuck him. So they leave.
I love.
That's
I actually kind of like this because it's very video gamey to me. It's like you see a side quest and you see somebody like clearly asking for help, and you're like, I don't really feel like getting into a side quest. I'm kind of focused on the main story right now. Like I just don't even want to bother with it. And this poor dude, they just leave this poor dude.
It is very funny. It's also, though, again, this fucking Mark Miller, characters cannot have more than one idea in their head at a time. The last page, Hawkeye was like, I'm so proud of my daughter that she's decided to be a superhero. And then, she's taken after her old man. And then immediately he's like, fuck that guy. It's weird. All they'd have to do is get him in the car.
Yeah.
They're like, well, there's nothing we can do with him. Let him ride in the back to town. You're going to town. It's nonsense. I don't know. It's frustrating. We get to town, which is Rice Eccles Stadium. I bet you that's a real place in Salt Lake City, where the new Kingpin has the new Punisher and Daredevil chained to a post in a big arena.
Yeah.
And I was very confused if that was supposed to be the original Daredevil Punisher. I kind of figured it wasn't, but I actually don't think the comic makes that super clear.
Nah, it's her. The only context clues are that they're Spider Bitch's friends, who are probably her age.
Yeah, the Punisher looks younger. Daredevil could, I guess, from the art you can say that he's not blind, but how do you know, right?
He has a glowing eye.
But the other eye is a normal eye.
I don't actually know if glowing eyes mean blind or mean you can see in the Marvel universe. I feel like it could go either way.
Yes. Or shoot beams. I don't know what's going to happen with that eye.
Or shoot blast of concussive force. You just don't know. You have no idea.
Yeah. No idea. We're introduced to new Kingpin.
Is new Kingpin ever named? I feel like he's not named. He's just the new Kingpin.
No.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
He's just a
new
guy.
Kingpin.
Yeah. He is coded like a 90s gangster rap guy, like Suge Knight or something. So sunglasses, tons of gold, big gold rings and everything. As the man who killed Magneto, he's a real badass, and he's showing the people what they want to see, which is people being tortured. And by tortured, I mean eaten by dinosaurs. He talks about how he got rid of Kingpin because Kingpin got old. So he's able to power in this area. Just whoever's the most powerful wins.
On the note of dinosaurs, real quick.
They
did mention at this point that they were released as kind of like a popular. No, they were popular as pets, and then people hated raising them. So now there are just wild, savage land dinosaurs everywhere in the wasteland. That's
why the Midwest is like nothing.
Yeah.
Is because all the supervillains were like, now that we've won, I surely would like a pet dinosaur. And yeah, they're pain. They're
this
dinosaurs.
dude being all like gangster stereotype is very funny because one of his lines in here is these boys forgot that they were coming after one of the most evil badasses in all creation. And I just think that's very funny because
Jeremy, rap. Is that a cool rap line?
No, because I was just having this conversation with somebody because rap is a lot like a lot of rap is about like aggressive swag, like claiming you're the best. Like that's a lot of what rappers talk about. Like that's part of the culture. So it's really funny that he just included like some other people in a creation instead of just being like, I'm number one. I'm the most badass motherfucker in the world. Like that would be what I would expect from this dude. And instead he's like, I'm one of the top 10.
One of he's qualified it.
I love it.
I'm one of the top 10 of the top 100.
I'm a guy that can do some stuff.
I'm number 7th of the most badasses of all time.
Yeah. I'm arguably badass.
I'm pretty cool sometimes.
There's a case to be made. The dinosaurs kill these kids. here. And he leaves. He's like, we're leaving. This reminds everybody who's top dog. He's giving people bread in circuses. While Hawkeye and Logan are using future glasses to look inside his stadium and see if they can find Hawkeye's daughter.
Yeah.
There. She's in a jail cell. And they drive in. They drive down the wall. The spider buggy can do it, and then bust into the between the buildings, and bust into the jail building.
This should be
a converted.
This
Walmart.
should be cooler than it is. Like, but instead it just comes off as kind of lame to me.
It's okay. Like the chase stuff is not like, I like the art in this. Every individual like panel I think looks pretty neat, but it's not. I don't know. What do you think, Gwen? How did this work for you?
This is the weakest part of the entire arc. Just like the side quest to save Hawkeye's daughter. I pretty much don't like any of the world building that it adds. So like the best thing I can say about this is that it goes fast, and I was a little checked out during this sequence. Like, I'm way more engaged with the other mini stories we get out of this.
It does. The book does get better as it goes, weirdly enough, without ever, losing any of these problems. But it does get better. And this fight with Hawkeye stabbing everybody is a pretty good, little fight here. The big twist here is the daughter knew he was coming. He releases his daughter, and his daughter throws his words back at him. You made a mistake, Kingpin. You got old. And cuts off his head. She's the new Kingpin.
Yep.
Now.
And she bashes Hawkeye over the head, which is, I mean, frankly, probably what Hawkeye deserves in this universe at this point. Like, somebody should have done this to him a long time ago.
Yep. She's about to kill Hawkeye, and Wolverine says, "Damn you for what you're about to make me do." And then we cut over to the next issue. Here, the final issue we'll talk about this episode. Cover of them underground with all these moloids. Here, the idea is to save Hawkeye's life. He has to break his vow. He drives in to everybody.
Before we get too far past the cover, I know, Gary, you're a big fan of text on covers, and this one having things keep getting worse.
I kind of like that. I don't know. It's real direct.
Yeah. Again, in context of the time, almost no covers during this era of Marvel had text on the covers like that. So again, it was kind of subversive in the minute.
Sure.
It's harder to see it as subversive looking back, though.
Yeah. I was thinking about these moloids absolutely sculpted asses. Look how sexy this moloid is in the center of the thing with like just an absolute perfect butt.
Moloids, no body fat. Just pure lean muscle.
Every day's leg day in the dark,
it's
baby.
Crazy. Yeah, it's the leg days in the dark. So he crashes into everybody here and grabs Hawkeye and busts out of the building. Saving him, kind of smashing into another building, which need not be specified, smashes out of another building, and then they escape. When new Kingpin, Hawkeye's daughter, says go get them, and sends Mad Max to chase after them with dinosaurs.
Just straight up Mad Maxes these guys, including dinosaurs. Honestly, if they do a sequel to Mad Max Fury Road, it just needs dinosaurs. I don't care. They do not need to justify it to me. I just put dinosaurs in there, and I'm okay about it.
I'm into it. As they're driving, a huge sinkhole opens up underneath them because there's moloids about. Sucks everybody down. Everybody gets knocked out. Wolverine wakes up and notices the moloids are eating all of the humans that were chasing them. Says, "You okay, bub?" Turns out Hawkeye's fine. He was just inside the car and the moloids couldn't get in. There. The way they're able to escape is because the moloids are scared of light.
They spend like a lot of time. Like, this feels like it's going to be super scary, and then they just get into the vehicle. They get into the spider buggy and just drive up. And I was like, wait a minute. I thought we were going to have like a whole moloid adventure, but instead it's just like,
it is on the cover.
Yeah. And then there is the one panel, like we learned that like everybody fell into this thing and the moloids have eaten all of the people that were chasing them. Maybe even Hawkeye's daughter. We don't know. We don't see it, but like you just kind of guess. And then they just drive away. Like, it's one of the most like weakest exits from a fight ever, where they're just like, okay, see you later. Gonna just drive up the wall.
We're done. Yeah. I like how Wolverine uses his classic catchphrase. go to hell, you sons of bitches. It just, like, somehow doesn't sound anything like Wolverine to me. Go to hell. Yeah. They drive out here, and they're just back on the road. This is where they explain the dinosaurs. They're in Paste Pot Creek, Wyoming. I love the idea of Paste Pot Pete getting Wyoming. That's funny and cute to me. They drive through Electroville, and they see a giant skeleton. I wish they didn't do this trick twice.
Yeah.
You know, it's a cool image, but then they just have it happen later.
I love giant skeleton monkey though. This is very good.
It's real.
It's cool
you
looking.
can tell it's what do they call it? Environmental storytelling because they're skeletons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and big skeletons mean big storytelling.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
If Elden Ring taught us nothing, it was that big skeletons mean big storytelling.
You know, they're driving through here, and basically explaining kind of more what happened to people. You know, half brother Loki died, Thor's half brother. They know what happened to Johnny and Thing, but they don't know what happened to Sue and Reed. You know, the Shocker told Hawkeye that Kang abandoned them in the time stream, but he doesn't know if that's true.
Gary, you did a little bit more research on this. Did you find out what happened to Reed Richards and Sue Richards? Okay,
no.
I'm curious.
The comic that I started reading that also takes place in this is by a guy who like wrote the Marvel podcasts, and I only got a couple pages into it and was like, I'm too sleepy and gummy to like read this. I got to go to bed. So it didn't hold my interest very well. Maybe I'll go back to it, but I don't know, man. Life's short. I was curious, but I don't know. And we see the Venom symbiote kind of like growing up behind them on their way out here. And then they pass Mount Rushmore, one of the silliest images in the comic, where Red Skull has just added himself to Mount Rushmore. He didn't erase anybody. He's part of the proud lineage that goes from Washington, Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, and then Red Skull.
I love the fact that this has to be out of the way, right? Like I've driven a lot of
they
places,
just want
but
to
they were
see
like you have to drive a little bit to get to this place. It's out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
So
we gotta see
gotta
it.
see it.
You know, if you're in town, you gotta make a stop. Yeah.
Jeremy, I just realized. I'm pretty sure one of the two. I don't think both, but I'm pretty sure the Invisible Woman, at least, that storyline is followed up in Mark Miller's Fantastic Four run.
Oh, interesting.
And I think Reed Richards' fate is still left up in the air.
That's fine.
If I remember correctly.
I'm okay with that.
They stop at a bar in Des Moines, and Hawkeye is sad about his daughter turning out to be a supervillain. He's like, you know, how the hell did I screw things up that badly? You just left. Like you didn't seem. You saw your baby born, and then you went off to have other wives. You didn't do anything. You know, it's weird. And Hawkeye's like, you seem a little bit more like your old self. That's what I'm afraid of. What do you mean? You know what I mean. Yeah. And he's you know, he's like, oh, you know, we're talking about, you know, he's talking about his past, the day the bad guys won. They gave each other a little hug, and a guy gay panics him. Says, excuse us, ladies. I didn't realize tonight was, you know, and then Wolverine's about to kill him. Here. Wolverine's
this is real weird because I don't know that you would. Like, they're obviously in like a middle of nowhere bar, and there's just two grizzled old dudes sitting together. Why? Like, who would assume and approach these guys and be like, I didn't know you guys were queers. Like, what the hell? Like, what is this?
No, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, even for Iowa.
Mark Miller assumes it's Iowa in the wastelands, though. Like, why?
I don't know.
Are people still Christian with Red Skull running America? I don't understand. But like Mark Miller's, like one of Mark Miller's biggest assumption about America, and he's not like incredibly wrong about this, is that there are homophobes everywhere, and they're just looking for two men hugging to call them out.
Were they hugging though?
Yes. He kind of puts his arm on
I
him.
guess so. Yeah.
It's worth noting Mark Miller is not American. So a lot of his books and the cynicism does come from a place of like not entirely misguided skepticism about America, I think. You know, like everybody's a gun-toting homophobic redneck, which is, to be fair to us, half true, but to be fair to him, it's half true. You know, it's like
I see what you're saying.
he's not
Yeah.
entirely wrong. Like, Hawkeye follows him out and says, "What the hell did he do to you?" And he's like, "Sit down and I'll tell you." And we're going to begin next episode of this podcast and the next issue with the night the bad guys won.
Ooh, exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like midway through this, I know I came in with a lot of negative energy, and I just want to say midway through this, I think this may be the perfect like podcast comic. Like, I mean, if you told me,
Yeah.
like if you recommended this to me and were like, "Hey, you should read this. It's an interesting bit of Wolverine lore," I would come out of this and go like, "Okay, you're not wrong, but this is not good. But it's something to chat with some friends about and to kind of dunk on and also like riff on. It's pretty good."
It's a
Yeah, it's fun.
it's a bad
fun to talk
comic
about.
I have fondness for. Like, it is objectively bad, but there is just some real fun shit in its badness.
Yeah. I appreciate things that are bad that you have fondness for are kind of what the show began
It's
on.
true.
Well, with that animated series and everything. Gwen, where can people find you?
I edit Duckfeed podcasts, but not this one. Jeremy does this one. Good job,
do.
Jeremy.
Thank you.
And I also play bass in a punk band called Trash Sound Conglomerate. You should check us out. Our first album is out now. That's all I can think of.
Check it out.
Yeah.
As for us, what can they do, Jeremy?
If they want to support the show, they can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and give us some of their hard-earned money so that we can turn it into content. That's the way that the Dream Factory works around here. Donating a little bit to the Patreon gets you access to all kinds of cool stuff. You can join the Slack channel. You can boss Gary and Cole into playing bad video games, and you get tons and tons of podcasts, presumably what led you here in the first place. Obviously, money is tight nowadays. If you can't afford to join the Patreon, that's okay. Tell your friends. Tell all of your friends. Do you have more than one friend? That's weird. Tell all of them. We really appreciate it. Word of mouth is the best way to grow a podcast. Also, ratings and reviews wherever you're listening to this. Like, just look down. There's probably like a star or something. And do Spotify. I don't know if you know this, Gary. Spotify started adding just questions at the end of podcast. Have you seen this? Yeah,
No.
like if you upload a
No.
podcast, it just you can change the question if you want to, but by default it's just what did you think of this podcast, and just anybody can answer that question. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Oh no!
So
we'll say nice things.
Tell
in
us
those.
what you thought about the podcast, and then one day Cole will log into the Spotify account that runs this podcast and be like, "Wow, this is a lot of weird answers."
Yep.
Be nice, everybody, and thank you for listening.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
And take
Bye-bye.
care.